Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to remember an extraordinary woman, Rosalynn Carter. She died just a few days ago. And I want to remember this extraordinary woman because, she was not only Jimmy Carter's wife, and they had, a beautiful story. They were two fantastic persons. And I want to pay my personal tribute to this woman because she was, a wonderful woman, always humble, along with Mr. Carter. And they both personifying being a caring and authentic person, very decent person. That's why I want to remember Rosalynn Carter. And I'm sharing, a touching obituary I found out in the Guardian newspaper. Rosalynn Carter died at the age of 96, and she arrived in the White House in January 1977, determined to recast the role of the United States First Lady. From the foundation of the United States, each president's spouse has to work out how to be at the center of national attention while avoiding to do something or to make some comment affecting the president political interest. Many, like Pat Nixon, for example, simply retreated into the background, while Eleanor Roosevelt spent 12 years robustly carving out a totally separate career. Edith Wilson was sticking to her domestic role during Wilson's first term, then went into history as the secret president by continuing to run the administration after the president's disabling stroke in 1990. Rosalynn Carter, having played a significant part in her husband Jimmy's political career, from his election to the Georgia Senate in 1962 to his presidential victory in 1976, arrived in Washington with the comment that it would be a shame not to take advantage of that power. Her first move was to organize an office of the First Lady in the East Wing of the White House, with a chief of staff whose rank and salary was paralleled that of the other White House functionaries. The new department built up a staff of 18 people and spent the next 4 years coping with the avalanche of social and political invitation that Mrs. Carter attracted. However, she soon ran into the inescapable problem posed by clannish social environment of the American capital. In the aftermath of the Watergate scandal, Jimmy Carter had run for the presidency as an outsider, a clean-cut Southerner untainted by Washington's shabby moral compromises. To symbolize this change, Rosalynn attended her husband's swearing-in ceremony, in a 6-year-old dress, and afterwards opted for a packed lunch instead of an inaugural ball. The unamused Washington establishment soon hit back, when Jimmy Carter mused about running a co-presidency and seemed intent of giving his wife a job in his administration. A chorus of lawyers pointed out that he was risking impeachment. United States law specifically bars, presidential spouses from such position. So Rosalynn consolation was to become a regular attendant at the cabinet meetings, a move which raised some eyebrows, but which lay within the president's discretion. It soon emerged that a contribution to the discussion had earned her the title among the White House staff of the steel magnolia. Rather more important troubles arose when Rosalynn, acting as a president's personal envoy, embarked on an extensive diplomatic tour to Latin America in 1977. She prepared meticulously for her solo trip, studying extensive State Department briefings for on each country and embarking on an intensive Spanish language course as she progressed to Costa Rica, Ecuador, Peru, Brazil, Colombia, and Venezuela. She held lengthy discussion with their leaders about human rights, arm reduction, nuclear power, American aid, and drug trafficking. This excursion caused such a huge row in the Congress and within the bureaucracy that she never undertook another. There was no evidence that she had put a foot wrong during her talks, but it was equally true that she had no constitutional authority to represent a nation abroad. From then on, she had to operate behind the scenes, particularly in the campaign for the Equal Rights Amendment, drafted by Congress in 1972, to outlaw all discrimination against women. This amendment needed ratification by 38 state legislatures to become law, in spite of a huge pressure from Rosalynn Carter and their supporters. The state voters never materialized and the measure died. It was a hard blow for a woman whose personal qualities had brought her to the White House from an impoverished Southern rural childhood through the worst years of the Depression. She was born in Plains, Georgia, daughter of Allie, née Mary and Wilburn Smith. Her father, a car mechanic, died when she was 13, obliging her mother to support their 4 children through dressmaking. Rosalynn, the eldest, not only helped in that work but looked after her siblings and did much of the housekeeping. She was a bright child who did well at Plains High School and went on to study at Georgia Southern Western College. At the age of 18, she met Jim Carter, a young officer on leave from the United States Naval Academy. Within a year, in 1946, they were married and she embarked on the peripatetic life of a military wife. When her husband had to resign from the Navy in 1953 to take over his father's agriculture business, Rosalynn took an accountancy course so she could run that side of the enterprise. In the 1960s, by now, with a growing family, she extended her activity into politics to help her husband's election, first to the Georgia legislature, and then in 1970 to the state governorship. She admitted years later that she was initially terrified at the idea of making speeches, but she turned out to have a natural gift. When Carter embarked on his presidential bid in 1975, Rosalynn crisscrossed the United States to run a separate and extremely effective campaign on his behalf. And at a later time in the White House and in the years that followed Carter's 1980 defeat by Ronald Reagan, she became a campaigner for mental health project and for the proper care of elderly people. She and her husband also threw themselves into the Carter Center's projects to improve human rights around the world and to advance global health. She is survived by her husband and their three sons, Jack, Chip, and Jeff, and daughter Amy. She had 12 grandchildren and 14 grandchildren, great-grandchildren. Eleanor Rosalynn Smith Carter, United States First Lady, born 18 August 1927, died 19 November 23. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.